In a landscape marked by shifting geopolitical tides and an uncertain economic outlook, China's President Xi Jinping is actively courting global business leaders in a bid to stabilize foreign investment and bolster international relations. As the nation grapples with a protracted property crisis and faltering investor sentiment, Xi's upcoming meetings with prominent CEOs signal a strategic outreach aimed at reviving confidence in China's economy. Scheduled for March 28 following the China Development Forum (CDF) set for March 23 to 24, this anticipated gathering is expected to draw around 20 top executives from major international corporations, including Ken Griffin of Citadel and Georges Elhedery of HSBC. The CDF, a significant annual event that attracts global business figures, has become a platform through which she seeks to reinforce China's commitment to reform and international collaboration. The forum will host a robust lineup of approximately 72 global CEOs, including notable figures such as Steven Schwarzman from Blackstone and Albert Bourla of Pfizer. Despite the high-profile nature of the event, many executives are reportedly hesitant to remain in Beijing for an extended period following the CDF, with some considering skipping the forum altogether to participate in the Xi meeting. This reflects a broader trend of concern among international companies about the challenges they face in the Chinese market, including rigid barriers to entry and fierce competition from domestic firms. Beijing's desire to connect with these global leaders comes against a backdrop of increasing economic pressures and external challenges such as the rising trade tensions with the United States. The Biden administration's imposition of a 20% tariff on Chinese exports has prompted retaliatory measures from Beijing, further complicating the business landscape. Xi's previous engagement with U.S. CEOs at the Great Hall of the People last year demonstrated his willingness to engage directly with business leaders, emphasizing a narrative of reform and openness. As China seeks to emerge from its economic malaise, Xi's approach is not merely transactional. It is a calculated effort to foster a sense of mutual reliance. The Chinese leadership recognizes that international investment is crucial for economic recovery and that building robust relationships with global executives can help mitigate the adverse effects of external economic pressures. Meanwhile, the invitation extended by President-elect Donald Trump for Xi to attend his inauguration next month underscores the complex nature of U.S.-China relations. Trump's intention to engage with Xi despite past tensions reflects a broader strategy of maintaining an open dialogue with global leaders, regardless of previous conflicts. In the realm of international diplomacy, Xi's vision extends beyond mere economic partnerships. His Global Civilization Initiative (GCI) aims to promote cross-cultural dialogue, encouraging mutual understanding among nations. Launched in 2023, the GCI emphasizes the importance of coexistence and learning from diverse civilizations as a pathway to global peace and development. As Xi prepares for these crucial meetings with business leaders, the stakes are high. The outcomes of these discussions could significantly influence China's economic trajectory and its relationships with key international players. Looking ahead, the potential for increased collaboration and investment may pave the way for a more resilient Chinese economy, but only if the concerns of global businesses are addressed effectively. The coming weeks will reveal how Xi's outreach will shape the future dynamics of China's position on the global stage. And the intricate landscape of global diplomacy. Few leaders have made as pronounced an impact as Xi Jinping, the General Secretary of the Communist Party of China and President of China. As he approaches the second anniversary of his Global Civilization Initiative (GCI), the importance of his diplomatic approach, centered on mutual respect and cultural exchange, becomes increasingly evident. This vision, articulated in various forums and letters, seeks to weave a narrative where civilizations engage in dialogue rather than conflict, reinforcing the relevance of historical ties in today's interconnected world. During a recent virtual address at the CPC in dialogue with world political parties high-level meeting, Xi emphasized the necessity of tolerance, coexistence, exchanges, and mutual learning among civilizations to promote a shared future. This sentiment was encapsulated in a letter he sent to Professor Stelios Vervadakis at the University of Athens in 2023, celebrating the inauguration of the China-Greece Center for Mutual Learning of Civilizations. In it, she highlighted the historical significance of collaboration between two ancient civilizations, urging a contemporary partnership to foster global development. Xi's approach is not merely rhetorical, it reflects a deep-rooted belief that cultural exchanges can serve as a catalyst for peace and prosperity. He has consistently advocated for cultural diplomacy as a means to bridge the gaps between nations. For instance, his 2019 visit to Greece underscored his fascination with ancient civilizations as he compared the Acropolis to China's own rich cultural heritage. Such remarks demonstrate Xi's commitment to fostering mutual understanding through cultural appreciation, a theme he revisited during his state visit to Peru, where he drew parallels between ancient Incan and Chinese civilizations. Moreover, Xi's Global Civilization Initiative stands as a response to a world grappling with the resurgence of divisive ideologies. In a time when some Western scholars resurrect the notion of a clash of civilizations, Xi counters this narrative by asserting the equality and uniqueness of all cultures. This approach not only seeks to dismantle stereotypes but also refutes the idea that any civilization is inherently superior. His vision is grounded in the belief that civilizations thrive through exchange and collaboration, a principle he articulated at the Conference on Dialogue of Asian Civilizations. As Xi continues to champion cultural exchanges, the GCI aims to redefine global governance by advocating for inclusivity and respect for diverse development paths. This initiative resonates particularly with nations in the Global South, who increasingly assert their right to modernization without having to conform to Western paradigms. Xi's emphasis on mutual learning as a foundational element of modernization speaks to a broader aspiration for equitable global relations. The coming years will likely reveal the tangible impacts of Xi's diplomatic endeavors. As the world navigates complex geopolitical dynamics, the effectiveness of the GCI in promoting peaceful coexistence and mutual respect among civilizations will be put to the test. Observers will be keenly watching how this initiative shapes international relations, especially in regions where cultural ties can foster understanding and collaboration. Ultimately, Xi Jinping's vision for a world engaged in conversation rather than conflict offers a hopeful perspective amidst a backdrop of rising tensions and divisions. As the global economic landscape continues to shift, the United States faces mounting pressure to develop a cohesive national economic security strategy aimed at countering China's rapid ascent. Recent developments signaled the urgency of this task, particularly as former President Donald Trump resumes his hardline stance on trade, igniting a fresh trade war with Beijing. This renewed conflict raises critical questions about America's economic resilience and its ability to protect its interests in an increasingly competitive environment. In the wake of Trump's return to office, the U.S. has already seen significant tariff increases imposed on Chinese goods, which could threaten the export-driven growth that has become a cornerstone of China's economic strategy. While Trump's approach has garnered support among certain factions within the U.S., it has also met with considerable pushback from various stakeholders, including economists and business leaders who worry about the long-term implications of escalating tensions. According to a report from Bloomberg, data expected from China's National Bureau of Statistics is anticipated to show a steady economic performance in the first 2 months of the year despite the renewed trade hostilities. Estimates suggest that retail sales could rise by 3.8%, while industrial production is forecasted to increase by 5.3%. This resilience can be attributed to China's proactive fiscal policies and a commitment to maintaining a growth target of around 5% for 2025, even in the face of external pressures. Analysts have pointed out that President Xi Jinping's administration has taken steps to stabilize the economy, including setting a record budget deficit and fostering dialogue with key industry leaders like Alibaba co-founder Jack Ma. We expect steady readings for major activity indicators for the first 2 months this year, noted Citigroup economists in a recent report. This optimism stands in stark contrast to concerns regarding how trade headwinds could materialize in the coming months. However, challenges persist. The Chinese economy is grappling with deflationary pressures as inflation turned negative for the first time since 2021 and imports experienced an unexpected decline of 8.4%. Such indicators highlight weak domestic demand and underscore the difficulties faced by consumers and businesses alike in the current climate. Despite government efforts to stimulate consumption, retail sales growth remains tepid compared to previous years. The real estate crisis continues to be a significant drag on economic activity, with new home price declines showing signs of easing for the first time in several months. Nonetheless, the housing market remains a critical area of concern as many Chinese households view real estate as their primary source of wealth. Policymakers have introduced measures to bolster this sector. But the long-term effectiveness of these initiatives remains uncertain. As the U.S. navigates its own economic strategy amid these developments, the need for a cohesive national economic security framework becomes increasingly apparent. With China poised to leverage its economic resilience to challenge U.S. interests globally, American policymakers must consider how best to protect their economy while fostering a competitive environment for innovation and growth. Looking ahead, the interplay between U.S. and Chinese economic policies will likely shape the global economic landscape for years to come. The outcomes of ongoing negotiations and the effectiveness of respective strategies will be pivotal in determining not only national security but also the future of international trade relations. As both nations grapple with their internal challenges, the stakes have never been higher, setting the stage for a critical era of economic rivalry to eye in the rapidly shifting landscape of global geopolitics. The United States finds itself at a critical juncture, particularly with respect to its relationship with China. As tensions escalate both economically and militarily, experts are calling for a comprehensive national economic security strategy to counter China's growing influence. This call to action comes amid concerns about China's military modernization efforts and its assertive posture toward Taiwan, highlighting the urgent need for the U.S. to reassess its strategic priorities. China's recent military developments are particularly alarming. The Chinese government has been ramping up its naval capabilities, with reports indicating that the People's Liberation Army Navy plan is constructing large landing barges designed to transport troops and military equipment. Analysts suggest that these vessels, which could potentially ferry up to 6,000 soldiers in a single operation, might be intended for a full-scale invasion of Taiwan. Dr. Emma Salisbury, a Sea Power Research Fellow at the Council on Geostrategy, noted that this buildup could be part of a broader strategy to provide China with the option of military intervention should tensions with Taiwan escalate. The urgency of a U.S. response is underscored by recent developments in China's military spending. Beijing announced a 7.2% increase in its defense budget for 2025, further signaling its commitment to military modernization. In parallel, the European Union has identified both Russia and China as potential adversaries, prompting discussions about a coordinated approach to counter these threats. A white paper issued by the EU has emphasized the need for a unified front against external pressures, reflecting a growing recognition of the interconnectedness of global security challenges. As the U.S. navigates this complex landscape, experts argue that a robust economic security strategy must be at the forefront of its response to China's rise. This strategy should encompass not only military readiness but also economic resilience and technological innovation. The U.S. must leverage its strengths in technology and innovation to maintain a competitive edge, particularly in sectors critical to national security such as semiconductors and artificial intelligence. Furthermore, the implications of China's military ambitions extend beyond Taiwan, affecting the broader Indo-Pacific region and even the global balance of power. The potential for conflict in this area necessitates that the U.S. not only strengthen its military alliances but also enhance diplomatic efforts to mitigate tensions. The situation is further complicated by China's increasing economic influence in countries across Asia, Africa, and beyond, which often comes with strategic and military implications. In conclusion, As the U.S. grapples with the implications of China's military modernization and assertive foreign policy, the need for a cohesive national economic security strategy has never been more pressing. Policymakers must act decisively to safeguard U.S. interests, strengthen alliances, and ensure that America remains a formidable player on the global stage. The path forward will require not only military preparedness but also a commitment to innovation and economic resilience in the face of an evolving geopolitical landscape. As the world watches closely, the coming years will be pivotal in shaping the future of U.S.-China relations and the broader dynamics of international security. In the complex landscape of international diplomacy, few narratives are as compelling as the rise of Saudi Arabia as a significant global power. Once perceived primarily through the lens of its vast oil reserves, the kingdom, under the leadership of Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, MBS has adeptly transformed its diplomatic profile, positioning itself as a central player in negotiations that could reshape international relations. This week, Saudi Arabia's role as the host of peace talks between U.S., Russian, and Ukrainian officials exemplifies its burgeoning influence even as it navigates the treacherous waters of global politics. The backdrop to this newfound clout is Saudi Arabia's unparalleled status as the world's leading oil exporter. With control over one of the largest oil reserves globally, the kingdom holds significant sway over energy prices and supply, a leverage MBS has strategically exploited since the onset of the Ukraine crisis. By maintaining production cuts, Saudi Arabia has not only boosted its own revenue, contributing over $200 billion annually, but has also fortified Russia's position in the global oil market, creating a delicate balance in international relations. MBS's ambitions extend well beyond oil. He seeks to modernize Saudi Arabia and reposition it within a more diversified global economy. This vision has seen the kingdom open up to international investments in technology and artificial intelligence, aiming to attract talent and innovation from around the world. However, this pivot has raised concerns in Washington as U.S. officials fear that Saudi Arabia could become a conduit for Chinese technology, potentially undermining U.S. interests in the region. The Crown Prince's diplomatic maneuvers are also apparent in his relationships with other world powers, including China and Russia, while maintaining a close alliance with the United States. MBS is simultaneously fostering ties with nations that historically have been seen as U.S. rivals. This dual strategy has positioned Saudi Arabia as a key player not only in Middle Eastern politics but also on the broader global stage as it seeks to leverage its economic power to influence developments in regions like Gaza and beyond. Despite these advancements, MBS's rule has not been without controversy. The shadow of human rights abuses looms large, particularly following the assassination of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, which cast a pall over Saudi Arabia's international reputation. Yet as the world witnesses the kingdom's assertive foreign policy, many nations are willing to overlook these transgressions in favor of economic and strategic partnerships. The unfolding diplomatic saga is not without its complications. MBS is faced with the challenge of balancing his ambitions with the expectations of the United States, especially regarding its approach to Israel and Palestine. While President Trump may envision a future where Gaza is transformed into an international tourist hub, MBS has made it clear that he will not support the displacement of the Palestinian population, a stance that could strain U.S.-Saudi relations. As Saudi Arabia continues to navigate this intricate diplomatic landscape, the implications of its actions will be felt far beyond its borders. The kingdom's ability to leverage its oil wealth and hone its international relationships will not only shape its future but also influence global geopolitical dynamics, particularly as it engages with emerging powers and addresses pressing regional challenges. Looking ahead, the world will be watching closely to see how MBS balances his ambitious domestic agenda with the complexities of international diplomacy. As Saudi Arabia steps into a larger role on the global stage, the interplay of power, economic clout, and human rights considerations will undoubtedly define its trajectory in the 21st century.